Hello, hello. Welcome back to the weekly podcast. I guess it's the Monday Motivation weekly podcast. No more excuses. I am your host, back for another week. Sandi Ballard here. My website is www.growingforward.biz, B-I-Z. Thanks for connecting with me on all the social media outlets. I believe they're all linked on my website, but SL Ballard 13 on Twitter, Instagram, Taskmaster Sandi with an I, and then you can find me on LinkedIn and my Facebook page of Growing Forward Success Coaching. Thanks for listening, coming back, sharing this podcast, as then you're helping others, and for connecting with me, like I said, on social media and all that jazz, and emailing me your comments and where you're listening from. So it's always fun, as I've commented here and there, it's always fun to hear and find out where people are listening to this. It's pretty cool. And last week, I'm kind of still recovering, even though it was weird. It's only Monday and Tuesday. I traveled from Indianapolis to Seattle and back. So went out there Monday morning, got back Tuesday evening, and it was fast. So I think that made it tougher. But I'm not sure if it's easier or tougher to go back to back versus getting used to one time zone and then coming back. But the first day, it's always that weird travel when you are up so long. I was up for about 21 hours on the first day. I got called out to do a team building event at a company up in Everett, Washington, which is north of Seattle. So all I can say is I did my best. That's all. I was up for 21 hours. By the time I'd started the event, I was on hour 16. I was 16 hours into my day. And I wasn't sure how it was going to go. I was, kind of that up and down as far as whether I was tired, whether I didn't know what time it was, whether I was hungry or not. But what was great was afterward getting an email from the woman that coordinated it saying everyone had a great time. And they loved it. So I obviously did not fall asleep during the event, and I did okay. I did well. She said I did great. So that's something you have to just accept. Like I said, I did my best. But many times I walk out of those team building events or even client meetings and, you wonder, okay, what did they think? What could I have said differently? What could I have done better? Or wishing I had said this or that, or wishing I had not said that. Although that's real rare. But in a team building event, sometimes you got to be a little more careful about how you talk, speak, and use analogies. So this time, perhaps I was too tired to worry. But also I had just recorded the podcast, last week's podcast, 119, about not giving up. I mentioned and started planting the seed. I had mentioned one of my clients realizing that she had done her best, which was hard for her. And, it's sometimes you have to realize you gave your best effort. And what's ironic is I had a new client come in a few weeks ago whose parents would say to her when she was a child, she'd come home and have this or that grade or project completion or whatever, and they would say, "That's great. Do you feel like you did your best?" And I don't know, obviously, in what context they said the question, but how she took it was she could have done better. She could have done more. She took it as a question, I believe, more of, "Are you sure you did the best you could?" versus, "Did you do your best?" And yeah, being supportive. So she's been holding on to that her whole life. And so that made me think about this when I walked out of this one. Because I swear every single time I always think through what I could have done differently or better. So she's always overachieved, but I'm not sure that's a bad thing. But it depends on, in her case, she's achieved a great deal. She's helped many people and organizations. But here's when I asked her how she felt, she replied, "I'm sure I could have done better here or there. I could have helped this person more had I just," and then fill in the blank. I was like, what? So we talked through things. I showed her how much she had accomplished and how she can learn to give herself credit. And no, Beth, it's not you, but damn, I swear, it's got to be a sibling. But I wonder if her parents realized what they did. Now she's, now had she taken in that, question from her parents and said to herself, yes, confidently, yes, I did the best I could, and never really pushed herself. Here's two things. She could have been more confident her whole life and never questioned herself. Or would she have been comfortable and not achieved as much? Yeah, it's like mind-boggling here, right? It's a fine line with that question. Did you do your best? Did you really do your best? Do you think you could have done more? Or did you do your best? Do you feel like you could have done, or do you feel like you did your best? And get people to be confident. So you either end up questioning yourself or confident with that same question. And the thing is, sometimes the best is good enough. It has to be good enough. This aligns with my previous podcast, one of them, to be kind to yourself. Understanding that what you have to give sometimes is all you have at that moment. Especially if you're, burning yourself out or experiencing a loss of some kind. So sometimes, as hard as it is and hard as it can be, you have to stop and say to yourself, I did my best. And you have to answer that question if someone asks you confidently, yes. Now, with that, the quarterly lunch that my badass bitches and I do, Taboo, it's coming up September 21st for all you local Indiana ladies. One of the badass women helping out at the end of each one would say, wow, that was the best one ever. Or the best one yet, she would say. And I would give her crap about it. And I realized, we do need to continue to make each one better and better. And, how else do you grow and improve and succeed? If we stay status quo, or if we said, oh, last September's was better, then we know we're going backwards. So you always do have to improve. And it's such a double standard. That question is so, like I said, such a fine line. But unless you shift your mindset, yes, here we go. Think about this. At the end of a project, event, client meeting, like I did, team building event, perhaps you're finishing a painting or a piece of art, or maybe you create jewelry, whatever it is. You're an architect. Again, whatever it is, there is an end time, okay? So instead of beating yourself up, ruminating about what you could have done differently, better, not said this or that, or wish you'd said this or that, just stop, walk out, be done, hand it over, and say, and give yourself credit, all right? Say to yourself, I did my best. All right? Think about some time or something, okay? And then it's okay to think through how to continue to improve. They're always continuing. That's what, creation is about. We're making our technology better and light bulbs better, and God forbid, I wish they'd make high heels women's shoes better. But, we're always looking to improve ourselves. I've talked about in my podcast about investing yourself. It is about growth and improvement, learning. And, but here's the problem is people will not give themselves credit. And I've done this way too many times myself as I sit there and think about what I could have done better, but in the negative context, or I wish I wouldn't have said that. So, you've got to give yourself credit. And this week, it's all about thinking through that, thinking through a tough time, or thinking through how it's going to be a tough time to think through, or maybe you have something coming up that's about to end, and you say, I did my best. All right? And that's all you have to do is I did my best, and then you can think through how to improve that. All right? But you've got to learn to be proud of yourself first. So email me, sballard@growingforward.biz, or post, or perhaps tag someone who never gives themselves enough credit. We know lots of people who are always like, oh, I could have done this or that, or I should have done this or that. So give me one example of when you were proud of yourself. You feel like you nailed it. You rocked it. All right? That's what I want to hear. Email me. And especially if you can't figure it out or you never give yourself enough credit, you need to schedule time with me. All right. Talk to you soon. Have a great week. Cheers.